Did you miss me? Did you even notice I took a little bit of a break? But y'all been asking for me to talk about this Kenya situation, and your girl is here to give it to you raw from a therapist perspective. Is it Kenya versus everybody? Whose side you really on? Is it the network fault? Okay, we gonna have to get into it right about now. Intro, do your thing. I am your queen, your sister, your favorite therapist, Denise Brady, licensed marriage and family. Licensed, I got my L. I went through the process. But looking at this situation, it's Kenya versus everybody. It's always been Kenya versus everybody. You know why? Because of that trauma. But then you have this girl come on over, and what? She got her own issues. She wants attention. She wants to run with the big dogs and go after the big kahuna, but did it fall back on her in her face? Because all these new people that come on these shows, they have the same agenda. They want to come on, they want to be a star, and they want to fight with the big dogs. But oftentimes they sound like chihuahuas, okay? Because they looking for what? What? A moment. Looking for a moment. But this situation is a little bit more convoluted because I don't think it's so black and white as much as the media and everyone wants to make it seem like it's Kenya's fault. You know, it really ain't. All right. It stems a lot from her childhood, the things she has been through. And when your parent decides to self-abandon, y'all remember what? How many years ago was it that we saw that knock on that door? And what happened next? You can hear a little bit of scurry behind the peephole, only for what? Her mom to once again reject her. And oftentimes these women, not just Kenya, but multiple women come on these shows to me as a therapist with personality disorders, abandonment wounds, trauma from their own parental relationships that we as an audience fulfill. We come along and we watch, we become fans, and for some reason, these caricatures, okay, because of the parasocial relationship that the fans, engage in and bring and push towards this person who already has an abandonment wound, already has their issues, fulfills in some ways the things that were missing from that parental dynamic. And so looking at Kenya, okay, I think there are moments here where the relationship dynamic between them could have been fixed. It could have started off a lot different, but I think Kenya really, y'all know I gotta keep it real. She has gone away with a lot of stuff for so long, and I think it reached a point where maybe production was able to finally say, enough is enough. We have our out. We have our reason to let her go. We have our reason to finally let her go. We're in a rebrand, and depending on who you ask, some people might feel like Kenya took the bait. Some people feel like Brit came on in and sabotaged. Okay. But I think a lot of these moments quickly escalate to people feeling like they have to one up the other person. Okay. And I think let's look at Kenya's trauma and her trauma response. Kenya has said in her confessional, she has said multiple interviews, and now everybody named Mama got a YouTube channel. What happened to, people hating that Dr. Heavenly had a YouTube channel? First it was just her and Kenya. Now everybody named Mama want to come on and use this narrative of I got to get my story out. But are they really telling us what we really want to hear? Okay, now that's a side note. Okay, now I'm looking at my notes here. Now, I think Kenya's reaction to this whole situation, the hug, the fake hug, she didn't want to get her makeup on Brit's dress, the asking her about her ring. There were a lot of microaggressions. Okay, you have someone who is engaging in microaggressions, but somebody who is also looking for a moment, but also wanting to be a star. And the way she talked through her nose, Brit herself to me, I don't know her personally, but there's something there. I don't know if it's a personality disorder, because my spidey sense is like something. When I first saw her come on with her husband, the way he was acting compared to her, he's very passive and she's very dominating. And the way she moves and talks, everything is a scene. Similar to a lot of these girls that come on for the first time, I need to live up to this. I don't know. Is it the one that gets the contract signed for a second season? But everything with her feels very calculated. And I don't think we're getting the real her. When was the last time, somebody came on one of these shows for the first season and we got the real person? Everybody's playing a role to get that bag, get that check, get the notoriety, get the coins. But nobody is really showing up as themselves. And so Kenya's reaction stems from past betrayal, as I wrote in my notes, and unresolved relational trauma. Okay. Her wounds from her mother affect all her dynamics. If you look at her relations with women, she hasn't had any real lasting relationships with women. They've always been off and on. And I think as a therapist, people don't recognize how much that first interaction with your parents, your mother, that nurturing, that caregiving, that love, or lack thereof, really will sprinkle into all the dynamics you have with other people throughout the rest of your life. Not only with women, but with Kenya, it's also with men. She has not been able to have stable relationships because that motherly parental love that should have been there in the beginning was not, because her mom chose to abandon and not want her. Look at your own relationships. What is your relationship like with your mom, with your dad, whoever was the primary caregiver? And look at how that relationship reflects how you show up in your own relationship with friends, romantic partners, because Kenya is a prime example of what happens when that unhealed trauma, your central nervous system, it manifests because you're not doing the work. In this situation, everybody else is the problem. And I hate this whole Kenya's confessionals, because I think it should have been handled a lot better, where it's, let me take a step back, let me reflect, but instead, oh, everybody else got to say something, everyone else has a narrative, I'm going to say my own narrative. And in a way, I get it. I get you want to share and speak your truth, but at times, you could be your own worst enemy. And I think that Kenya can be her own worst enemy. I think there should have been some, so let's take a step back. Let's disappear for a little bit. Let things settle. Let the world forget what I did. Because we are in a generation of microwave. Ding, next story. Ding, this person did this. Ding. The news cycle moves so fast that I think over time, if Kenya would have not been like the free Kenya, here's my YouTube channel that took 7 years to come out with that video. Okay. I don't think that people would be as enthralled and the attention span would have went to something else. But because she's so I'm right, I'm right, I'm right, that the light on Brit is a little dim and a little brighter on Kenya. But at the same time, it's brighter because of her notoriety. But I think there's problems over here with Brit. But because Brit is taking the quiet road, everyone's still looking over here. What you do, why you do that, why you put them pictures up, when really there's a problem over here also. But the louder you are, even if you're right, sometimes being right all the time ain't worth it. Okay, you lost a good check over what? A trauma response. Over trying to outdo and one up, thinking that once again you would get away with the mess. But I think Kenya struggles with boundaries, control, and emotional regulation. This is an example of not being able to emotionally regulate, to control your emotions, and instead become emotionally reactive. Okay, emotionally reactive. And you have to learn how to emotionally regulate and calm yourself. See, people think about emotional regulation. Oh, I just need to cry less, focus on my anger. No, baby girl, them actions too. Them actions will also get you caught because you are making permanent decisions off temporary emotions. And once you recognize, I need to turn that mirror on myself, then maybe the healing process, the self-reflection, and the woe is me, push that woe is me and take some time to recognize what was my role in this situation. But instead, I think with Kenya, she continues to put herself in the limelight, I guess trying to prove her point. And it's also, to me, Brit's attitude when it comes to control and boundaries. Brit is coming off very nonchalant in some ways. And I wonder if that also irritates and upsets Kenya, that she's not having a more reactive manner. Okay. It could be that Brit might trigger something over here in Kenya. Her dynamic with her mother, other women in her life. We have not seen Kenya really engage and be involved with her own family. What does that say about a person too? She has conflict with everybody because she is not attuned to how her hurt, her trauma is really showing up in all aspects of her life. And I think Brit will get away with this and not have to take any accountability. Because who are you seeing them talking more about? More of who's in the wrong? Kenya. Because Brit is being very quiet. And as I've watched Kenya move these last months, it faded a little bit and then it got right back up. Okay. It's only kind of gotten worse. She's only becoming more of her own worst enemy while Brit is being very quiet. And so I'm worrying about also the teams behind both of these women. Right now, Kenya team ain't really seeming all that together. Whereas Brit's team, to me, is seeming a little bit better. Just be quiet. It'll fade. Don't feed into it. Even though Brit, to me, has a lot of her own issues, I don't get that she has a sense of who she is. But at times I wonder, does Kenya have a sense of who she is? There's such a power dynamic between both these women. Having the most power, being the queen bee, Kenya feeling like this is my turf and you a baby walking over here on my territory and I got to put you in your place. I have to show you that I have the power. And oftentimes women need power in these certain situations with others because maybe they don't have power within. Okay, we have to recognize our own faults, our own trauma, our trauma responses, our triggers. Because all it took was, in Kenya's eyes, some disrespect and probably some people whispering in her ear during production, friends, this what we gonna do. At the cost of what? The biggest moment of your life? Open up that salon? Now it's tarnished. The brand is tarnished. Because when people think about that salon, they're going to think about these photos. And depending on whose side are you on, your team Twirl, your team Brit, whose side are you really on? Do we really got to choose sides? Can we admit that sometimes the world is so black and white that we choose sides when really it's okay to be in the gray? But because of Kenya's mother wounds, because Brit has a need for fame and attention, both these women clashed. They clashed and it exploded. And who was left standing? Brit. Brit was. Because I think there's just been so many things in the past that probably production was tired of. And all the things she has gotten away with, she probably thought she could get away with this again. Not again, but you know, the different things that she has been through, that until she takes some accountability, it will always be Kenya versus everybody. You have to take a step back and recognize and take accountability for your actions. But until she does that, this will be the story of her life. And I wonder what's next. She got deals for her. She did a trademark for her daughter. I guess she's going to try and make some money off that. The book, her YouTube channel. Is she going to go the route of just being on these reality TV shows, competition shows? What's really next? You know? But of course, I want to know your thoughts. What do you think? Is it always going to be Kenya versus everybody? Let me know. Okay? Let me know in the chat. We can get in there. We can get active. Like, subscribe, share this with your friends. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.